Hello, I'm Tony,
And I'm Paula.
and welcome to the seventh, nonetheless, update on our travels on our motorhome gap year. And today we're in Padstow. Go like that. You can see
Okay.
over there,
The river,
um,
that's the River Camel behind us. And
Camel Estuary, is it?
yeah, I
We
assume it
think.
is. Yeah. We're actually managed to find somewhere by the water, which has not been easy,
Mm.
has it?
No, it's Well, I suppose if you've watched any of the others, you'll realise our frustration. We got pretty miffed at the whole experience. We have decided it won't be a year. We might change the name of it at some point, but we're continuing our travels. I think Cornwall seems a little bit more friendly, doesn't it?
Yeah. They welcome you more, don't they? We
Mm,
found more places to park off grid, which was in Devon was a nightmare. You couldn't find anywhere.
mm,
They all let you stop in car parks to park up and look at things, which is
mm.
also a thing, isn't it? We even struggled with that before. So yeah, Coverack was a lovely place as well, wasn't it? We
Uh,
started off there on a
mm.
campsite.
Well, in fact, today we just walked through a car park and we found only two, admittedly, but two camper van spaces in a car park. But you couldn't find that online. The other thing is, you look at all these things up online, then you turn up and they're all out of date. And on the
Mm.
south coast, I think we followed the sign man. It's like old times for me. They just seem to be all these brand new shiny signs saying no motorhomes. But yeah, Coverack. So what a difference a week makes. That was very out the way. We were on a campsite, but it was sort of on a hill.
Mm.
Beautiful place. Coverack itself was lovely. Then a contrast because then we went on to Penzance,
Mm.
and that was our first pub stop.
Yeah, we found that on Brit Stops, I think, wasn't
Mm.
it? Stopped at the
Pirate.
Pirate Inn, wasn't it? The Pirate
Mm.
Inn in Penzance. We had some lovely food there. They were very
Mm.
welcoming, weren't they? Made
Mm.
us feel welcome. Um, we were a bit worried whether it would be noisy by the road, but it wasn't. It
Mm.
was really quiet.
No,
We
and
slept really well.
the deal
In a
is,
few minutes walk into town.
you eat or
Yeah.
drink there, and we did both. And they actually had tapas food that was really reasonable. It was about a 15 minute walk into town. It's appropriate we stayed really at the Pirate
Yeah.
Inn. If you're going to be in Penzance, where else would you go? I didn't actually go ooh ah once. I was quite behaved. But Penzance itself is an odd town. I mean, I put something on social media about that, and someone was a bit rude about my description of it. Wasn't quite accurate. But it has got a seafront, and there's one end of it that's kind of like a little seaside town. Um, the centre is a bit rough.
Yeah.
If I were to say we were in a pub on the first night and we witnessed a drug deal going down, and then I witnessed the person hitting whatever you do with drugs in the toilets, it has its rough bits. But where we actually were, because the second night we managed to park quite near the
Mm.
seafront, was quite nice. But I think the important thing, we stayed 2 nights because the second night we were right near Newlyn, because Penzance becomes Newlyn after about a 10-minute walk, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then we did that and
Mousehole,
Mousehole.
yeah. So it was a lovely walk on the front,
Mm,
wasn't it? It was a lovely day, and we had a long walk there and walk back. You could
mm.
have got the bus back, couldn't you? There's a
You
little
could,
shuttle
yeah,
bus that runs up and
yeah.
down the coast, but we walked both ways. Yeah, we had a lovely
And that
day.
was just a walk straight along the coast. We found a lovely pub for lunch as well. The Ship Inn, wasn't it? I think
Mm.
in Mousehole, which is Mousehole if you're looking it up. But all somewhere I've always wanted to go actually,
Mm.
and it's hard to stop there. Obviously, walking there is good. It was about an hour walk, so not too bad for us, as walkers. So overall, Penzance was a good stop. We enjoyed it. Um, then St Ives was next, which I've got to say, for me personally, is one of my favourite places. Been
Mm.
there a lot. We've been there together
Yeah,
before. We've
it
been
is
to.
beautiful. There's a lot to do there, isn't it? Because
Mm,
it's got the takes in Tives
mm,
and things to do. And went to the Barbara Hepworth, didn't we?
yeah.
Sculpture Museum, which I love
Well, I
Barbara
think
Hepworth.
you, when we first went, you realised how much you loved her
Yeah,
sculpture, and it's an incredible place because it's where she lived and worked. Sadly died there in a fire, but she was quite groundbreaking. And like previously, which I think we've missed out in all this, we also went to the Minack Theatre
oh yeah,
when we were on our way to Penzance, and that is staggering. Again, maybe an eccentric woman, quite well off, who came up with this incredible theatre. And again, you've got someone like Barbara Hepworth, very cutting edge at the time, so that was good. We also missed out on the way because we Porthcurno, which is actually next door to Minack, where the telegraph station was, where they put the first cables from Britain going off to India, I think.
and that was somewhere. Even though it's a small place, it was easy to park there again,
Mm,
wasn't it? You could. There's a big car park, very easy to park because it's not Wouldn't have been really cheap for the day. It wasn't expensive, was it?
And we kind of forget all the things we've done because it's quite a lot. But anyway, I think St Ives is beautiful. It was our second campsite, so we had the contrast of Coverack, which was really,
The rural, wasn't
rural,
it?
out the way. St Ives, actually, we weren't intending to go on a campsite. We did find somewhere to park, which is quite something. But in the end, we thought we'll try this campsite. Relatively expensive for campsites. It was $28.50 a night.
Yeah.
But it's perched on the hill, the most breathtaking view, and we could go down the coast path to get into town. So much of it was good. Only our second site. The first one spoilt us, maybe. But there were lots of things about it that weren't quite right in our view. Like there's no security whatsoever, no barrier. The site itself, you have hard standing. You had to drive across grass, which was odd. But the biggest thing really was they've expanded the site and expanded. And now they're building some places right next door, just above us, and all the site traffic goes right through the site. They've also got a new swimming pool, which they let out to locals, and there's a car park there. So you've got them coming into the pool. But the amount of traffic.
The amount of lorries that were going in and out, because they were moving a load of rubble, weren't they? Rocks and things. And there was lorries, I don't know, every half an hour, great big lorry coming through. And then every time the digger was going backwards and forward, it was beeping, wasn't it? Doing the reversing
really
beep noise. It was not relaxing, put it that way. Apart from the view, it's not relaxing. I wouldn't recommend anybody to go there, and maybe till next year when they finish the building, because it's not right.
And certainly not with children.
And you wouldn't want children. No. You'd be worried they were going to get run over either by a lorry or all the traffic coming to the swimming pool.
Well, as anyway. It was, you were worried about me running off. I know what it's like. It's hard to control me. But the experience of that was interesting. The second site, and interesting as well. Paula went into the office, said it's only our second site. They chose not to tell us anything, though. They don't give you one bit of information. You just find out on your own.
Whereas the first site were very supportive, weren't they?
However, on the positive side, St Ives, we wandered around trying to find somewhere to eat. We found a little Italian called Peppers, and it was unbelievably good. We also thought, being St Ives, very touristy, it'd be expensive. It wasn't. And we had an incredible meal there. And this wonderful guy was telling us all about the local area. And there was a little bar called the Pilchard, a real ale bar. And it's just off the front. And he said, you've got to walk past all the bins to get to it. You needed that local
You'd never
knowledge.
go there if he didn't tell you.
And we walked in. This was by then nearly 10 o'clock. And it's a proper real ale bar with like a beer festival one. There's no hand pumps. There's just barrels.
It's almost
there.
Like as though it's in the cellar of the buildings above, isn't it? Because it was really low roofs, really old-fashioned and stone walls, wasn't it? It was lovely.
Really was quite something.
They made you feel welcome, even though you weren't locals as well.
Very much so, yeah. And then the second night, we found something called the R Bar, which claims to be a jazz club, and it's a Thursday night. You think, there's not going to be any jazz, but there was. We had food there as well. Food isn't their thing, but the jazz, with 2 hours of jazz, incredibly
lovely
nice.
Evening.
We were sat quite near the musicians, and we got our own selection of songs played. It was really brilliant. So the experience of St Ives is somewhere we could live, I think we said as well. It's not over touristy, whereas we found other places we stayed have just been overrun.
Yeah. It was fairly busy, though, in the summer. I don't know what it's like. It will be a different place in the summer.
But I think it's certainly lovely. So from there we went on, and then last night we were in Newquay.
Yeah.
So what happens here, the organisational thing is, Paula and I, but mainly Paula, she'll go on Street View and actually look around and
try to find somewhere.
Yeah, and of course you can be thwarted because that sign man could have been there the day before or day after you've looked. But we did actually find somewhere quite easily. Not somewhere lovely, but it was near enough to the town. I should say in all this, I did have a slight tragedy in St Ives. I've owned an iPhone for, I think, 12 years, and I've never broken the screen. I managed to do that in St Ives. I fell out my top pocket, and it's almost brand new iPhone. And there I am with the phone not working, which is a tragedy for someone like me. It was awful. Also, I am slightly neurodivergent, and I find things are out of my control. I'm thinking, I'm in St Ives. This is awful. The nearest Apple shop was in Newquay, basically not even in the county. But it turned out they had an Apple dealer in Newquay. So it did cost £349, which is eye-watering because these things are expensive. But it got done. So Newquay was on the map anyway. We had a lovely time. We walked down the headland, and again, we're walkers. It's a long way. but beautiful. It's all the little coves. Newquay's somewhere, obviously. It's a surfing capital, although we didn't see one single surfer. They're not like Scarborough. They're
No,
not hardy, are they?
no, they weren't out there, were they? There was
No,
some waves
not
because it was
one.
windy, wasn't it? But nope, they weren't in the water.
Sunny and windy. It was perfect anyway. And I've been there before when the surfing festival's on, and it's mad. But it was quite quiet, but busy enough. And I happened to see on Facebook a little restaurant with rooms actually called the Harbour Fish and Grill, which I didn't realise was literally the other end. We were sort of to the north, and that was to the south, or the other way around. But the other end of Newquay, so it's about half an hour walk,
Yeah,
which again for us was quite a
yeah.
nice walk. And we had an exceptional meal. I mean, the Harbour Fish and Grill, as I say, really, really incredible. And the owners of that, as we were chatting about the hotel, then we were probably chatting to them for an hour, and they showed us around their rooms as well, which was stunning. The view of the
Yeah,
harbour,
really is on the harbour,
just
isn't it? And they've put balconies
breathtaking.
on
Yeah,
some of their rooms. They've put balconies, haven't
yeah.
they? A beautiful place to stay. The rooms are amazing.
So they gave us a really good look around. So we had an exceptionally good evening there, which was a bit of a surprise as well. And then today we've wrapped up on Saturday in Padstow.
Hmm.
I was sceptical you'd park in Padstow, and the fact you can see behind us, as I say again, the water, which was sand when we came. We've had a lovely walk around here. It is an incredible place. Somewhere else, I think we haven't said this. I think I could possibly live here.
Mm.
I guess. You know, they call it Padstein because Rick Stein's
Yeah, there's a lot of him around.
he owns nearly everything. Nearly everything. I'm surprised he doesn't own the water, actually. But in fact, we're going to one of Rick Stein's restaurants this evening. He's sort of second best one. The other one's very, very seafoody, and that's not really your thing. But we're going there tonight. We've also found a local brewery that has a tap room where they do beer tastings and things. We're going there first. So all of that cobbled together today. I didn't book anything really thinking we'd stay here, and we're here. We may stay here 2 nights because it's so good. We are
Yeah,
10 minutes from the town. They actually, knowing we were here, they put on the Sea Cadets put on a church parade just for us. They had a band and everything. We were honoured guests. They forgot to tell us that when we were down there, but it was really, you know, the kids playing their instruments. It was quite lovely. We managed to buy some nice cake, so Paula's happy now because I deprived her of cake. I should say on the way as well, some of the experiences of this, which is what we're kind of talking about here, we're getting quite good at it now, maybe. We realised we rushed ourselves a bit much before. We should compromise a bit more. You can't always find the best place, but luckily today we went around the block actually, and a van had moved and we got our space. But on the way, LPG has been a problem for us because we ran out. We said before we ran out. We're in Southwold, lovely place, and you realise when you run out, you've got no heating, you can't have a hot shower, and you can't make a cup of tea, which is particularly important. Along with cake,
tea and cake. You need tea and cake.
They fuel Paula, whereas the van is fueled with other things. But we did find the LPG running out wasn't great, so we are actually in a week or so going back to Loughborough, the people that actually fit these things. Ridiculously, the bottles we've got aren't big enough, so we're going back to get bigger ones. They've been very kind to us and not charging us a lot of money. But on the way, we stopped at an LPG stop. Normally, you've got to find a filling station with it, and they're few and far between. But again, you found online, Teresa and Paul's LPG stop in Redruth.
Yeah, it's a little plant. They grow plants. There's a little nursery, and around the back of the nursery, they're obviously planting the pots. But around the back, they've got LPG things, and it's a tendered service as well. You don't see that very often nowadays, do you?
You drive in, the bloke sort of waves you round and says, "Oh, do you want me to fill it up for the
really nice
cost of £12?" The other thing I have to say about living like this, we in our hotel in Scarborough in January, we had a bill for gas and electric for £1,000 for a month, which is eye-watering. And here, you fill that up for £12. That lasts you a couple of weeks, I guess. Now it's getting warmer. Like this morning, you don't need heating on because it does warm up quickly. So all of those things are good. One of the big issues we had with the previous disaster of a motorhome that went back after a few weeks, it had a standard battery in it, and it was terrible. Whereas we've got 2 of these lithium batteries, and one thing we really don't worry about is power.
Yeah.
We've got at least 2 weeks of power, and when we were on site, unusually we don't even need the hookup because we've got power. Nearly everyone does have that. And you live differently. We don't have loads of lights on, and our showers, because of course water, we have 120 litres, and that's lasting us about a week.
Yeah.
Fair to say.
You learn how to have a quick shower, don't you?
You certainly do, yeah. And if you've got your water heating wrong as well, you either burn yourself or freeze yourself. But anyway, we're used to that. You adapt with all these things. It's like, you use public toilets whenever you can. All of these things we've adapted to. And I don't think any of it's been that hard. You used to go camping.
Yeah, just
I
a bit of a
didn't.
shock to the system, I suppose, when you're not used to it. You're used to all your luxuries at home, but then you realise you don't really need those luxuries. You can have a lovely life doing what we're doing. The frustrations of the parking's the worst thing, really.
That's
and it has been so much easier in Cornwall than it was in Devon, and the South Coast was difficult, wasn't it?
South Coast in particular,
it was bad. They really didn't.
Wherever you went, they got there first. But I think we've adapted to the life fairly well, and whatever happens, we don't know what the plan is. All we know at the moment is, I say we've got to go back to Loughborough. We're going to have a couple of nights in Nottingham, maybe see a few people while we're back there. But it hasn't been bad. I mean, I'm also doing some consultancy work at the moment, so I can do my work here. That's perfectly all right. So we've got electricity. That's not a problem. Paula hasn't got any work at all. So.
It never reminds me of that either, do you?
I've not said a word, have I? But anyway, a work shy thought. Yeah, it's actually become enjoyable. The last week's been enjoyable. We've got some incredible memories already from doing it. Some of the people we've met, most of them have been lovely. And like, I've already forgotten his name, the guy in Peppers in St Ives. Matthew. It was incredible. He's not originally from Cornwall, but has lived here for many years. And I think he couldn't be more helpful. In fact, he said, well, I'm here from 3:30 tomorrow. If you want to pop in, because I asked him about phone repairs and this. And he meant it. And on the roads, I should also say, people are very accommodating to you in a motorhome. I thought they'd be angry, but it's only councils that are angry, it seems. The public are fine.
Yeah.
Apart from the one in Sidmouth who left us the nasty note. In general, people are accommodating. And the thing is, of course, with trying to ban us, we had a plan at the beginning that I was going to cook most of the time. I've cooked once so far. It's 4 weeks on Monday, but because we keep finding places to eat and they're nice. Like you couldn't be in Padstow without eating at Rick Stein's, could you? It'd be ridiculous. We're now seeing it more as a holiday, I suppose, for however long. And no matter what we do, we're pretty settled on the idea, I think we've said before, of Cromer. Having now been round everywhere, we had target places like Hastings and Bexhill. Most of them have been incredibly disappointing. And I think then I suddenly thought, why didn't I think of Ramsgate? And I think we said before, the first thing we saw in Ramsgate was a hotel, in inverted commas, with a couple of very clear people influenced by drugs, let's say, and a chap outside wearing shorts with his electronic tag proudly showing. He could have worn longer trousers to it. I think he was proud of his electronic tag. And you sort of think some of the seaside in Britain, sadly, has gone to hell in a handcart. It really... and in fact, Penzance, the amount of graffiti.
Yeah, that's been a big shock, hasn't it? There's a lot of graffiti on this coast.
It has. And in fact, last night in Padstow, not in Padstow, Newquay, you've got to catch up with it. There was a lot of graffiti there, which was surprising. I should say the place where we parked up was just like a residential road. And we're walking down this alleyway. And this woman looks, because I was sort of trying to peer over this great big fence, thinking this is odd. And she said, were you looking for the owls? And you think, no, we're just wondering what's over the fence. It turned out we were parked right next door to the zoo, Newquay Zoo. And it was lovely. On the way past, there were two of these snowy owls that were incredible. But the weird thing was this morning we woke up to weird noises of donkeys and zebras and all sorts.
Yeah.
I thought, if you didn't know, you think, where the hell have we woken up?
Really, really weird this morning, yes.
It'd be funny if you went to stay with someone that they didn't mention, because it is a zoo. I should say so.
The bear's just fell over.
The bear's just fallen over. Our motorhome gap year bear. He's given up. So that's the update. I think it's not all bad. If people are following us on social media and saying, we're doing this, all I would say is think long and hard about where you're going to go. We are still hoping to do the NC 500 up in Scotland. Wows, I've shared this online. I've got a very different attitude, it seems, to motorhomes. They are accommodating. None of us mind paying. And I think, let's be honest, the truth of it is, after COVID in particular, there were a hell of a lot of people, we've seen them in rotten old vans, driving around, living in them, parking up. Nobody wants to see that. Whereas ours is a brand new motorhome. It's not awful. But more importantly, we're staying for 1 or 2 nights. We don't want to come and live. So that's
the difference, isn't it? These people that they will come in and they want to live there forever or even for a month, and you want to do that because if you're near somebody's house or in a, you stop other people coming for a start, other people enjoying it, and also they don't want that on their side of the road, do they? Just people
No.
living there. It isn't a campsite, it's only an overnight.
So I think there's an overreaction. I also think so many people keep telling us France is a lot better. And we'd already said, like, if we did make this longer, that the winter we'd probably go to France. And they do make it a lot easier. They're not so anti. But I think it's just been that overreaction. And it does make it hard. And that seems to be unique to Britain. And I think local authorities need to actually think a bit. A good example, quite a lot of the time, last night included, there were some nice places to park, but we couldn't because it was no overnight parking for motorhomes, which forces you inland a bit, nearer to people's houses. Whereas I think Ramsgate was a great example. We had to walk another 10 minutes to find a residential street, not outside anyone's house, as we never are. We weren't, impinging on them. But we could easily have parked much nearer, and there were like literally probably 200 spaces that were empty.
Yeah.
So out of season, a very different story. I also think every local authority is different. Some of them do summer parking 1st of March, some 1st of April, some 1st of May, and some 1st of June. So that can limit you. And you've got to be clever, resourceful, tenacious, and to find those places. And maybe looking back, we could have done it differently. But however, it's kind of the last week, maybe the week before that has been better. Giving in, doing a campsite here and there. It is frustrating because we originally thought we'll have to do a campsite once a week.
Yeah, because we need the electric and things, and we don't need it. So it's we're using the campsites, but we don't really need the facilities, do we?
Which is quite miffing, I suppose. I think we were the only motorhome on the campsite that didn't, because I say we've got this wonderful battery power. But anyway, that's the update on week 7. So we'll say goodbye from her.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from me. And goodbye from Padstow. Oh, and goodbye from Mayor around him. Bye.
Bye.